10 seconds.
Oh, okay then.
5 seconds. And we're on.
That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. Joining our live stream audience, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a live stream wherever you are. We appreciate you. And we got lots to talk about today, including some fun news. It's entertainment news. That's right. We're looking for fun news. Are you out there and kind of wondering, I'd like to hear some good news rather than bad news all the time. It's an issue. Sometimes we keep seeing things and we're like, I don't know if I want to explain this, share this, and or expand on it. But I do have the master over there at the control room, Mr. Jesse Sanchez. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning.
So lots of news, obviously. Not all good, but what did we expect? Here we are. I was talking to my mom and sharing with her some, news again. And she was like, did you know they were going to do this? Did you know they were going to do that? I said, that's what Jesse and I have talked about on the morning show way back when, right? Mm-hmm. Another surge. Remember, we were talking about how this would happen regardless of who won the presidency. We still had to deal with it. And evidently not a conspiracy. I was looking at world news, very sad situation that the world's currently undergoing. Some areas completely toppling over their government, some without any administration, and others just having a very difficult time. That's the world scene. So I have to say, even here on the home front, at least we are in a better position than some governments right now. There are some just that I pulled up. We may talk about them a little bit later, but instead of always focusing on the bad news, let's focus on some of the good news and some of the fun news. Jesse and I, we're trying to figure out where can we find some good news. So Jesse, you know some good news over there, right?
I know a little bit of good news. Well, I remember we were talking about movie releases, and I remember someone was steering us away from a Marvel movie called New Mutants. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually comes for, we can actually rent it soon. So I think this Friday.
Really? Okay.
So I might watch it. I don't know. No, I'll probably watch it. I'm a sucker.
You know what? Do it. That's what I say. I last night I was watching with my mom. I spent a little bit of time with her watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And it was okay. It wasn't, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had some friends that were on that particular show, but it was a little slow, to be honest. But the graphics were amazing, right? Yeah. I actually like the other show, DC's. It's on Netflix with the whole gang there. It's called, I can never get it right, but they travel in time. Legends of Tomorrow. There it is. Legends of Tomorrow. That's a really good show. If you haven't seen that one, go check it out. They do it really well. And one of the few ones that I really like that is a series. Okay, let's go to social media comments. Who's tuning in? Where are you tuning in from? And what do you got going on in your life? Either good or just life, right? Let's see. We got Lance Mitchell says, good morning, y'all. Good morning, Lance. Good to see you there with us. Stephanie Reed, all the way from Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, happy editing this glorious sunshine day for today's awesome, amazing, busy day ahead. She edits a lot, right? She's always editing, always doing productions. Good job. Katya Wunderland tuning in all the way from, there's the other one, from Switzerland. Says, good morning. Awesome. Thank you. Cedric over there says, good morning from Douglas, Georgia. Awesome. And Lance tuning in from Alaska. Thank you very much. All right. So how many of you actually enjoy coronavirus? Yes, that's right. Anybody out there? Nobody? Okay. All right. Well, some of the top news, which we do need to cover. Otherwise, people are going to think, they're just completely oblivious to what's going on. No, unfortunately, we're still talking about it because it's a worldwide pandemic. The numbers are ever increasing, unfortunately, and we're hoping that they get less and less and less each and every day. But Jesse, just out of curiosity, what are you doing to keep you and your family safe?
The same thing we always do. Just wear a mask, wash our hands frequently. Although I've always washed my hands, so the whole thing about wash your hands here, wash your hands there. Do people not wash their hands? Well, obviously not, because I know a lot of people that exit the restroom without washing hands. So
Remember, I told you that. I'm like, I sometimes watch them. Now you're probably like, oh man, right? I take
I
a
know.
number. I look at them. Sometimes I look at their shoes. When you like hear certain things, you're like, and they're talking on the phone, because you go like, I hope I don't meet this person, or because sometimes I see, and I know people are thinking, what do you mean you look at their shoes? Okay, when you're in a stall, right? I know this is weird news, but here it is. These things kind of go through my head. So sometimes I'll hear, like over talking or something, or just some weird stuff, right? And I look at the shoes, I go, okay, note to self, I'm going to remember the shoes, especially if they don't wash their hands when they go outside. Because what if I'm in like a network meetup and that's the person I have to meet? And then they're all like, hey, how you doing? Shake my hand. You're like, I'm good. Yo, fist bump. You know what I mean? So Howie Mandel, I think, helped us all with the fist bump. I think he made it kind of famous with that. So, I mean, you can barely do that anymore. But so there you go. I'm sure Howie's like, yeah, exactly, guys. Come on. See, I knew all the time you guys are going to be crazy out there. But there you go. Okay. So here's some topics, unfortunately, in the news. Actually, we're going to switch gears entirely because you guys know what coronavirus is. You know how to stay safe. Just keep doing more of that. Okay. There's all kinds of news and it just gets a little overwhelming. I know for my mom, it was a good reminder because she hasn't watched it for so long. She actually was, we'd have good, healthy conversations and she would stay off the news, but now she's going back on it. And I'm kind of like glad because for a while there, she's like, I don't like being home. And I'm like, Mom, coronavirus. She's like, yeah, but I want to do this or that. I'm like, Mom, coronavirus. And she just didn't understand it until she saw the news as of late. So I think the majority of you kind of figured that out. And if anybody over there is like having a hard time, help us out with any information that you think is appropriate. But entertaining news, Jesse. I know you are a huge fan of Tom and Jerry. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I grew up on Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, all those shows.
Well, of course, they've been trying to kill each other for over 80 years. Yes, now they'll continue that tradition in a new movie scheduled for release in theaters in 2021. They're very hopeful over there. I don't know that I'm that hopeful, but who knows? We shall see. The violently antagonistic cat and mouse will star. You know, I can't believe they name it like that. The violently antagonistic cat. How would you describe the cat and mouse fun situation on the cartoon Tom and Jerry, Jesse?
They're just playing tag. I don't think he ever caught him. But you know what? There were episodes where he actually tried to defend Jerry. So
That's true.
I think Tom is just misunderstood.
All right. So which is your favorite, Tom and or Jerry? It's going to be a hybrid live action and animated film that sees the two square off in an upscale New York hotel. Per the trailer, the mouse Jerry is taking up residence in the molding and eager to please employee Chloe Grace Moritz is charged with evicting him. Tom arrives to help terrorize the mouse out of this house. But as anyone who's seen any knows that, of course, the cat rarely wins. But Tom pinballs between two cars, is electrocuted, is thrown in front of a bus by his tiny thermometer. And Michael Pena, Colin Jost, and Ken Jeong co-star with the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Cartoon violence ensues. The film is scheduled for a March theatrical release. Studios are scheduling films for wide theatrical releases in 2021 with hopes that the coronavirus cases will subside and it will be safer to gather in enclosed spaces with strangers. Blockbusters like the James Bond flick No Time to Die and Marvel's Eternals were delayed for months from their release date, though many theaters have not survived months-long closures. So I kind of wonder what's going to go on with that. Drive-in still could be a thing, right, Jesse? That's still quite possible. But studios are, of course, going to streaming platforms, which I kind of have a feeling that's what they're just going to have to do. But they have to figure out a way to get the, people to want to spend that type of money. But I think if it's an animated flick, it's good for the whole family. What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I think it'll do great, especially if it could draw the whole family in there. Kind of like how Sonic the Hedgehog did pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. And if you guys could do any new live action movie and make a recommendation over there, which again, I think it's a good idea to do animated flicks, whether it's animated with, some reality. Sometimes I have a problem with that, but like Space Jam. Did you like Space Jam?
I did like Space Jam. I'm not going to lie. I liked it.
I think they're supposed to make a second one, or maybe they were making a second one, but we're giving you options. I mean, between
they are making a second one.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember that news. But between Jesse's recommendation yesterday, right? There's some with the Batman and Justice League whole thing over there. So there you go. All right. So there's that, and then there is this top news right now in the world is a little bit daunting, but here we go. China says relations with Australia are in a sharp downturn, so that's never good. And unfortunately, China still in the news, of course, with the American situation as it is now. Where are we at? Of course, we talked a while back about China, Australia, the U.S. positioning in certain areas in the Chinese Sea. The question is, where are we going from here? With the current election as it is, many are still wondering, well, is Trump going to say, okay, here we go? Or is he just going to hold on to his power? Some wondering what's going to go on. Whatever way you think is going to happen. I think some are kind of, are you tired of the situation or not? We want to know social media. What do you think? Are you ready for us just to get over it and say, look, you won the last time. Hillary lost the last time. It is what it is. Nobody held on to their power, because this is kind of a weird. When has this ever happened in the history of the American? Like, how long has that ever happened, Jesse? Any of this?
I don't think that's ever happened.
I mean, I could see certain countries doing that, right? Like third world countries, which no, we want to hold on to our power. I don't want to tell you this, that, and the other. They kind of hold on to it, but they don't necessarily just say, oh, okay. I think even those that I saw that support Trump are like, well, I kind of hope, I mean, some say I kind of figured he'd be a big loser. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? So, you know what, however, and whatever you think in your mind, let it be voiced on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. Look for Aaron Michael Sanchez. If you're listening online and or on the radio, just tune it in. Very simple. Check us out, Aaron Michael Sanchez. You got Jesse Sanchez over there. He's got Facebook as well. Also on Twitter at I am Jesse Sanchez. You can find me at Aaron Michael Sanchez. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after these messages with more. Stay tuned. All right, for those of you tuning in, if this is your first time, this is how we roll. I see some new names over there and some returning names. Awesome. Glad to have you with us. Let's see. We've got Penelope over there. Says, hey, good morning, with the little palm tree over there. Thank you. Cedric says, good movie suggestions. I will definitely try to look. Use the eyes emoji. Stephanie Reese says, I just released top 10 Thanksgiving shows film video on YouTube at Stephanie is Live. Excuse me. Sorry, that was a little Red Bull burp. I apologize in advance. That is not kosher at all. I apologize. Trying to get my energy up. You guys sleeping well out there, or are you barely sleeping? Let's see. Penelope says, there is a correct way to wash hands during COVID. Yeah, that's true.
20 seconds, I think. 20 seconds.
You think? Okay.
I don't know.
That was a short break.
No. My bad. No, 20 seconds to wash the hands.
Oh, I was like, whoa, that was 20 seconds. You think we're right? Well, if you're a doctor, you got to do it but that's a doctor, right? You don't have to do that. Lily in the house. Good to see you, Lily. Good morning. Haven't seen Lily in a while. Good to have you with us. She says, I saw the trailer of Tom and Jerry this morning. Awesome. That's good for the whole family. I hope they make it good. But I can imagine some people being like, that's too much violence. Like, that's what we grew up on. That was our version of, right, Jesse? I mean, that's why we were like, I think we're a little bit more stable than the younger generation, don't you? I don't know.
Well, considering that we didn't have to put disclaimers on our cartoons saying please do not try this at home, I'm pretty sure we came out the better for that.
That's why we didn't do the Tide Pod challenge. I remember people that were like upset about the violence. Well, you know, what about Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner? I love those two.
Right? Like I go to Acme and buy dynamite and stick it in my brother's face.
I remember thinking as a kid, what is Acme? I didn't know what Acme, right? Did you know what Acme was?
I had no idea.
I think it was a steel manufacturing plant that actually did a lot of other they just put it on everything. You have to come from a certain generation in order to understand the real jokes. But it was just, I remember just laughing at stuff like that.
10 seconds.
We need more fun. We don't. That's like what rated mature nowadays.
We have 2 seconds.
That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMT 1490 AM. Joining our live audience there. However you're tuning in, we appreciate you. On today's show, we're talking about some good news and some fun news and some just stuff we got to get over, right? But, you know, look, whatever you're doing, we appreciate you. Maybe you're tuning in from the house. Maybe you're tuning in from your work. Maybe you recently laid off. Maybe you are currently wondering where you're going to go in the next couple of weeks. It's Thanksgiving. Yeah, a lot of family members starting to figure out, wait, what are they going to do? I saw a report, Jesse, and I don't know how you feel about this. A lot of people are getting tested ahead of time to see if they're safe to be able to meet with their friends and or family. Kind of like, hey, I got checked, you got checked, we got all checked, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, you talk about for Thanksgiving?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think we're having are people going to other people for Thanksgiving? I think it's just should be have your home. That's it. I don't know. Unless you do get a test. If you're tested, I say go for it.
Well, and I don't know how I feel about this. I kind of feel like if you had a quick 20-minute thing before you enter, right? First of all, do a flu thing, right? And then, but anytime you put anybody in a tight space, I mean, I think it's not a bad idea if you are wanting to visit, like, you know, your folks, right? And you're the one to get tested, but you have to get closer to the time, because what if you're like, you get a test now, right? And you know, when it comes up, you're like, oh, between now and then you actually get it. And they were talking about certain ones having, like, they may get tested and be approved now, but what if they come into contact with somebody else? But that just, you know, that's why you have to be so careful who you are coming into contact with, and or are you wearing, you know, your face mask? If you limit your exposure, I think it's not a bad idea entirely. If you get tested, then you prove that you're not, and then you kind of self-isolate, or you're already kind of, maybe you do a virtual home and you're only with each other. And, you know, I know there are families of on average 4, right? You've got typical families, and then you got those that are outside of the box, meaning you got those that are single, right? Ready to mingle, you know who you are. And you're like, hey, you know, this is usually the time I don't want to spend alone, right? That's the time that you feel like forlorn, sad, depressed, and just feel like, you know, so I think honestly, if they had more like Zoom parties or meetups, right? Like, everybody get in your holiday cheer, do a Zoom party meetup. You could do that, for example. I know I've been thinking about putting something like that together for other people, but, you know, whatever you're going to do, I think, Jesse, you mentioned it very correctly. Each and every time, what have we seen? Whenever there's a holiday and people throw caution in the wind, there's always a spike within 2 to 3 weeks, unfortunately, right? And even though, again, not to throw caution here, but I feel I need to. The spike surge that you're starting to see here is something we talked about 4 weeks ago. And when we said it was inevitable due to the cold and the flu season, right? Combined with the potential of coronavirus. But these are confirmed, supposedly coronavirus, but I'm wondering how many of these are actual flu strains, which are kind of difficult to find out if it is the coronavirus, right? But the reality of that is, as that spikes very high, you're going to have more hospitalizations, but there is a longer turnaround. So typically when you get diagnosed with coronavirus, it doesn't mean you won't get well. Remember, let's focus on the facts. But at the same time, the level of time that it takes for somebody to start to suddenly go down, unfortunately, is about what? On average, 3 to 4 weeks if they could put you on a ventilator. So then that's the moment of testing of where are the deaths following with that. So that's why we need to keep that number down. We need to keep it as low as possible. And if you are a family of 4, some are a family of 8 trying to just make it and survive out there. And some of you out there are barely surviving because, let's face it, it's like, where do I get a job at? What do I do? How do I do it? And so you're combining and making sure everybody can, stay safe. In that case, you got to have extreme caution. But hey, if those are your family members that you're always around and you could make sure that you're all careful, safe, and sound, then okay, then, do that. But don't go out and go to a party and sneak off to a party. I can see the teenagers going, I'll be back. I got to go get some food. And then they're gone for 8 hours. You're like, where did they come back? Oh, they went to a rave, right? So again, talk to your teenagers, talk to your young ones, talk to your young adults especially, and just make sure, because I have a feeling that's exactly what's going to happen, because a lot of, let's put it this way. I think some people think they're invincible. Do you know what I mean, Jesse? So if they think they're invincible, all of a sudden they kind of get it. They think, well, I'm going to get fine because I, very healthy. I had that discussion with my mom. She says, well, what about you? And I go, well, and we're just talking about the flu. I can get well with the flu. And my mom got the flu shot. So that's one thing, right? But I did tell her, just because vaccines are coming out, you got to be careful because they're going to be a dime a dozen. Everybody wants to make sure that they have the right one, but you got so many different ones. It's like an iPhone, man. The moment it comes out, it's got a new operating system, or if you ever done an update, I keep talking about it, but I feel somebody needs to hear it. The new update, are you the first one to get it, Jesse?
Oh no, I never get for the update the first day. That's horrible.
Yeah, I always put that off. Remind me later. Remind me later. I've been putting one off on my Windows update just because I know there's going to be bugs, right? Because then they update it, they make everybody do it, and then everybody else is the beta tester. I don't want to do that with our nation and our world. That would be terrible. They're looking for people that can actually get tested on this to see if those can be good. I saw a report yesterday where the news reporter asked the person that was talking about one of these vaccines. He said, "So are you going to get it?" And the man stumbled. He goes, well, yeah. I was like, whoa, that right there was not a good response. If you can't get it or want to get it, then I got to tell you, there's probably situations there. So look between the headlines. I'm not saying not to get them. I'm just saying be careful. I personally would want to see at least maybe 3 or 4 come out before I said, okay, it's mandatory to have to get it. But that's just me. But there you go. All right, people, we need to take a quick break here. Wherever you're tuning in from, let us know. We're going to do shout outs next here on the morning show. Stay tuned for more right after these messages.
Okay, you have a guest.
What's their names?
Her name is Sandy Tolan.
There it is. Oh, okay. The lemon tree. So this is Sandy?
Yes.
All right. Give me another minute. I need to download the All right.
You got a minute and a half till we come back.
And Sandy's a dude, right? Or you talked to the...
I talked to the operator.
Got it. Okay. Give me a minute. I don't know how I lost all of my
Shout out to the Lakers.
What happened to the Lakers?
I don't know. They won. Always got to represent.
Got it. Okay. I know I've been watching. Got to get back to that. Hold on. The lemon tree. The lemon tree. How much time?
1 minute.
All right, I think I can get this book. Oh, I can't get it. Grr. Hold on. All right, just bring it back, whatever. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Where's it at? Oh. All right, whatever. I need to get it. Darn it.
10 seconds.
All right. Here we go. I think I can do this one.
2 seconds. I'm coming back.
Thank you. That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMET, 1490 AM. Joining our live audience there on social media. We appreciate each and every one of you. Joining us right now, the lemon tree, an Arab, a Jew, and the heart of the Middle East. Sandy Tolan, author of this very interesting book, joining us right now. Sandy, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Aaron. Nice to be with you. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. First of all, I got to ask, how are you doing over there? Staying safe over there?
Well, actually, I live in Los Angeles, so I'm probably just down the road from you. I teach journalism at USC. I have been to Israel, Palestine, probably 20 times over the last 25 years, but I'm based here at USC in the Annenberg School, and so I'm doing probably about as well as you are, under the pandemic, and trying to stay safe and enjoying the outdoors as much as possible.
Well, let's talk about this, the lemon tree, an Arab, a Jew, and the heart of the Middle East. Again, it is available right now for people to check out. Obviously, people have questions. Very few people I have ever found, whenever I quiz them about world history and or other situations, sometimes they're very kind of like me. Like, I have to Google stuff. But can you share with us why this book is so important?
Well, first of all, it contains a universal story, and I'll tell you the story in brief. Essentially, it begins in 1948, and what drew me to it was the way this history is understood in such different terms. 1948 is what Israelis call the War of Independence, Palestinians call the Nakba, or the catastrophe, and historians call the First Arab-Israeli War of 1948. This is when 750,000 Palestinians fled in fear or were driven out of their homes during the creation of Israel, and yet the Israelis were creating their own state. And what I wanted to do is tell not just a history story or a story of all the bloodshed that's happened since, but the story of people. And what I found was one house where two families are connected through history. One was a Palestinian child named Bashir, who was 6 years old when his family was driven out of their home that Bashir's father had built and planted a lemon tree in the backyard. And then the family of Dalia, who was born at the end of 1947 in Bulgaria, where Jews had barely escaped the Holocaust. They moved to this house, the very house that Bashir's family had driven out of, with the lemon tree in the backyard. And they began living there, wondering, who lived here before and why did they leave? Dalia, as a child, grew up being told that the Arabs were cowards, they ran away. And Bashir kept wondering, who's living in our home? And all I want to do is go home. And then, ironically, 19 years later, after the Israelis were victorious in the Six-Day War in 1967, Bashir was able to actually come to the front gate of that house and was hoping after all these years of wanting to move back to the house, his side lost the war, and so he was at least hoping he could just see inside the house. And this is when Dahlia, who is now 19 years old, was at home when the bell of the gate rang. She comes home and is wondering who's at the gate. And who's at the gate? These three Arab men, Bashir and his two cousins. And he wants to just come inside the house. He just wants permission to come inside the house. And Dahlia says, well, if I don't let them in, I won't know what really happened. And so she decides, even though literally the enemy is at the gate, to let them in. And so that's the beginning of this long relationship, very difficult friendship between these two people. And for kids, it's a story of home. It's a story of exile. It's a story of what it's like to lose your home, but also the importance of your home, the importance of your attachment to land, and also the courage to reach out across this huge chasm of adversity, which is something I think that, you know, adults and kids in the United States in 2020 could also learn. So in a sense, it's a universal story.
It certainly sounds like it. I can imagine this is a discussion that adults and children can have right here, right now. You know, the educational school system has changed dramatically in such a way that, of course, parents are kind of trying to take a little bit more, but they need a lot more help. How do you suggest like parents go around discussing this with you know, even their teenagers? A lot of teenagers kind of need to, what I feel, look at the world scene, not just at, you know, American politics. How would you advise that?
Well, I think that the book is very friendly. It's really like it's reading a story. As a journalist, I consider myself first and foremost a storyteller. Of course, I stick to facts and not fiction, but in a way, the book, both and especially the children's edition, is more similar to a novel than a history book. It's what I call a history book in disguise. Right. And so the first thing to do is just pick up the book, and before long, hopefully in the first couple of pages, you're going to care what happens to Bashir. You're going to care what happens when he goes and he rings that bell. You're going to care about Dahlia's journey and how her parents barely escaped the Holocaust. You're going to care what happens when Bashir goes to prison. And is he going to get out? And is Dahlia going to talk to him again? So the connection isn't so much that parents have to sit down with their kids. I mean, of course, it's great if they do, but really the connection is to engage with the story itself and see that some of the universal values that are at work in that story about home, about exile, and about reaching out across a divide to try to understand the other.
Well, and the Middle East, of course, has seen so much war and so much frustrating of plans. What's your hope for those living there now?
My hope is that there will be some kind of, not literally miraculous, but a powerful new vision. I mean, I think we need the vision of a Mandela or a Dr. King to understand that everybody has the right to live free, to live in a country they call their own, to have freedom of movement, to not live in fear of attack, fear of occupation, for their children to go to school without being stoned. You know, that there are so many, especially among Palestinians now, the military occupation they live under is so dehumanizing, and it creates such a sense of humiliation and fury that until there is a universal understanding that people have the right to live freely, and that enlightened self-interest for Israelis, Palestinians, and a U.S. administration that could encourage this, that until we see that we need to have these values infused so that people really can appreciate each other and agree to live peacefully and with a sense of justice on the same land. I mean, that's what it's going to take. I mean, unfortunately, we're pretty far from that now, but I really believe the ingredients are there. There just has to be mutual interest in getting there.
Sandy Tolan, everybody, The Lemon Tree, An Arab, a Jew, and the Heart of the Middle East. You can check it out in bookstores right now and or order it online. Very simple. Get it delivered right away. And what a great way to educate your friends and family on this very important subject. And Sandy, thank you very much for spending time with us here on The Morning Show.
Aaron, great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. Again, important story there. Some of the reviews from Publishers Weekly. Moving, well-crafted, readers will experience one of the world's most stubborn conflicts firsthand. NPR says Tolan weaves together dramatically different perceptions of the conflict in its context and explains how the lemon tree grew to become a powerful symbol of hope. And isn't that what we need right now? All right, people, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after these messages. Stay tuned. All right. Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. I don't know why my calendar is showing nobody scheduled. All right. Here we go. For those of you tuning in, yes, I know you can hear us behind the scenes. I'm still trying to figure that part out. Don't have that down just yet. We got Mr. Jesse Sanchez over there. He is looking up new news, I hope, or old news, or some news, or any
Actually,
news.
I'm looking at the price. No, because Stephanie Reed mentioned the price for Red Bull at Aldi's is like 79 cents.
Oh, really?
I was just like, oh, great. Don't tell him that because then he'll probably like.
I will. I'll stock up.
I was like, oh, hoard it.
They're expensive, man.
They are.
I got to go back to the other stuff I used to use.
More natural.
Yeah, exactly. These things are like, kind of got addicted to them again. I'm like, no.
I had a Red Bull once. I thought I was gonna die. My heart was just going.
Well, I do not. I have to get the sugar-free ones. The sugar-free ones for me are good. The other ones I don't do well with. But the Monsters I used to drink because I, ran out of my energy juice. Sometimes you're like struggling throughout the day, just be like, what else do I do? I got water here too, people, so it's not all about Red Bull. But Stephanie, I might look up the situation with you said Aldi's, right? Do we have Aldi's here? We have Aldi's, huh?
Yeah, we have Aldi's.
79 cents, yeah. Or if I got a long drive to make and I'm like, oh man, guaranteed. I do the large Red Bulls. They're like this large. But sugar-free. You got to do this sugar-free one. Otherwise, the other one spikes my sugar. I don't like it.
3 Red Bulls in one gulp. How are you still alive?
I don't know. I've done at least 8 in one day. All right. Let's see. What? It's a thing. All right, let's see. Oh, I see. Renee said that in social media. Oh, you gotta say the comment from that way. They don't think we're stealing their comments.
That's true.
All right.
2 seconds.
That's right. It's the morning show right here on ABC News Radio, KMT 1490 AM. Joining our live stream audience there. We appreciate you. Look, if you're looking for a book, go check it out. It's available right now, especially for the youth, right? Interesting subject. The Lemon Tree, An Arab, a Jew, and the Heart of the Middle East. Sandy Tolan, again, joins us. And if you missed any part of that, you can download it. It's simple, KMT1490am.com. You can go get the SoundCloud edition. It's there for your viewing pleasure, which is technically the audio, but you can watch this as well. Aaron Michael Sanchez on all platforms, or Aaron M. Sanchez. And sometimes you can find Jesse as well. Go follow him on social media. He's got multiple accounts, and there you go. All right. Switching gears, let's go to the chat room here just for a bit, and let's see what people are saying. Let's see. Renee saying some stuff there. Let's see. Cedric says, I'm always a fan of professors, instructors, and teachers. I know, right? Very good. Let's see. Also, others are talking about what kind of drink do you get to start you up in the morning, right? Jesse, do you have one?
No, unfortunately, I do not. I just drink water, but I should probably drink some type of tea, something hot.
Oh yeah, because we're entering the cold season, right? So that's that's a good one. Or some drink green tea. I hear that with ginseng. I just need stuff to spike my energy. Does that make sense? Not spike it, but a good long lasting,
just to give you some pep.
Yeah, in my step. Exactly. Thank you. So that's what I'm looking for. So if you guys have suggestions on good, wholesome stuff, because evidently I'm drinking these and everybody's like, stop drinking them. I'm like, do you know what? There's so many people that drink them, but I appreciate you just for, looking out for me. But there you go. I actually do like these. These are a good, slow energy. They last for like a few hours. So, all right, people, let's see. World news. What's going on there? Does it matter? I would say it does. Here's one. Which is sad, but this is happening in Africa, okay? And this is a situation that is just going from bad to worse. The headline, they pointed their guns at us and started shooting. Talking about a bloody night of bullets and brutality that was against a protest movement, and unfortunately, a very young protest movement. This is something that we've talked about on several standards. We were talking about Nigeria and when that happened, and more information is still coming in from there. But I'm telling you, around the world, here in America, we have it so much easier than those in other countries. It really is a difficult time for people. And wherever you're tuning in from, just remember, sometimes, we complain and we're sad, we're mad, and we're depressed because we have to stay home or we got to stay safe. But there are countries currently really just facing a very terrible situation. And whatever that situation is, when it's a war-torn country, that's one that when you look it up, your thoughts and can only do so much, right? You can only say, hopefully at the end of the night, please be with those that don't have either food, shelter, or barely making ends meet, because that's a terrible situation to be in. No matter who you are, nobody wants to be in that situation. But those that are in that situation, I certainly hope it gets better for them, for sure. And then there is this, Russia, of course, packed morgues, excess deaths. This was a comment yesterday that was had by somebody that said, well, why now? Why are they talking about it now? Because for a long time, Russia was very much saying, no, we got the vaccine. We got it. We're ahead of the game. But yet their numbers are saying a very different story. And you got to wonder, how did it get out of control if they thought they had it under control? Which, again, I always say, look at other countries where it hit first or even dead last. There are some countries that are doing it so well, they have no coronavirus cases. And yet there are some that are spiking so significantly. I saw a report yesterday of Italy's numbers just dramatically rising to a point where even in areas where people like to actually vacation and or have a nice home, even those areas are so difficult because the hospitals just are not ready for the influx of patients coming in. Some are dying each and every day. And the reason I always focus on world news instead of just local news is sometimes I'm hoping somebody is listening and says, hey, why don't we talk to those in charge and say, why don't we follow those that are doing the right thing, not throwing caution to the wind? What are they doing? And Jesse, you mentioned something very interesting yesterday, which is, well, on both cases, it like state by state comparison, some don't have any precautions than others do. Yet the question is, how do you minimize it at the same time when you still see guidelines, restrictions, whatever you want to call them, protocols? They're all pretty much the same thing. Just out of curiosity, is there any protocol and or safety thing that you say is just kind of ridiculous?
At the top of my head, I haven't seen anything too ridiculous. All they're saying is just wear a mask, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away. Other than that, I don't really know too much else, unless something new popped up and I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing businesses complain about their situation, and I understand because sometimes they get a heavy hand, especially And I was just researching this because I was kind of thinking about what you said, and I said, you know what, I could see certain restrictions and/or comments and social media saying, well, they're gonna, family gatherings have to be kept. Like, who's gonna check that out, right? How are you gonna report that, and/or do you want to report that? At the end of the day, each and every person has to kind of take some accountability, but you need responsible people in the family saying, look, I'm going to take the lead here. We're going to test everybody's temperature when you come in or come out, right? And you're going to, if you're throwing caution to the wind, hey, you might have to get another place to stay at. I don't know. I don't know how bad it's going to get in the coming weeks and or months, because I see this curve not being a very easy curve to suddenly downturn, because certain areas are starting to go into lockdown in certain countries. Others are not. I don't know that a full lockdown is going to help entirely. I think we're kind of past that, to be honest. I think if anybody was going to do it, they should have done it for a good 5 weeks to start with, and then stop throwing caution to the wind before, and then get a handle on it. But I feel we're past that, unfortunately. And going into the cold months, I don't know that you want to do a full lockdown. I don't know. What do you think, Jesse?
A full lockdown is just dangerous in general because businesses will be closing. They're already hurting enough as it is. And it's like, how do we help them other than just give them money?
Yeah, and with employees losing their jobs over I don't know that there's a one size fits all situation. I think there has to be a multi-tiered situation. I think instead of doing all pandemic situation, pandemic's been here. It's gonna continue. I do feel, though, we need to start having smart communication with the science, the doctors, those on the front lines, and say, look, what will help you do your job? Because there's only so many to go around, right? And as you have only so many, they're getting sick, they're dying. You're going to have an influx in hospitals once again. Now, does it make sense for the economy to completely downturn significantly, and or businesses to completely be wondering where their money is going to come from in order to stay alive? I think there needs to be, honestly, during this time, a lot of forgiveness of debt. I think it's going to have to start from the top down. And in order for people to stay alive and stay ready and busy, you can't stop business from moving, especially if it's essential, B, helpful and or loving. And what I mean by that is there's sometimes services and or things that we find like a different version of like entertainment, right? And maybe the movie theater experience, we kind of forgot what it was like to go meet up with friends or go meet up for coffee and or dinner. And even that sometimes is more difficult. Is it easy to find love during coronavirus? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. For those of you that are in relationships, stay in those relationships, seriously, because I can tell you right now, in the next coming months, people are going to be a little bit more alert. Nobody's going to want to meet in person eventually. Or are they? I don't know. Whatever's going to happen, we have to have these serious conversations, because we have A, people, we have B, coronavirus, and we have C, everybody else. Does it work that way? No, but we have people first. And granted, we have to deal with coronavirus, but we have other debilitating diseases, very horrible diseases that need to be treated. People need to go to the doctors. People are currently holding off on their own treatments just because they don't want to get coronavirus if they have an autoimmune system disorder, or they have a situation that is difficult for people to comprehend, or maybe people just don't know what they have, right? So now you've got that's exasperated. So look, I guess my message at the end of the day is this. In reality, everybody, you need to be careful. In the next coming weeks and or months, there's still probably some rhetoric, I've seen it already, that says, no, don't worry about it. We'll have a vaccine in time. I think that's the next stage I need to start talking, and I'm going to have to bring it up again and again. Do not throw caution to the wind because you think a vaccine is going to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Even if it's a vaccine, is it going to work on the general population? Is there going to be a percentage that are going to actually, unfortunately, have side effects from some of these very early adopters of vaccines? Which, look, I'm okay. And me and my mom had this discussion maybe 4 or 5 out, perhaps, once, people figure that out. But it doesn't mean just go willy-nilly all and throw caution to the wind. But, sometimes you take your own life into circumstances. I know people that are living alone, and it's not easy to stay alone. But there's got to be more outside activities. There's got to be certain ones that can get you so that you can still participate in outside activities. Wipe them down, disinfect them, stay outside. If it is a situation where it's very cold and or damp, there's situations that you could do to be able to minimize that. There's UV lights, there's UV air conditioner systems that can clean the air as it's doing. There's certain things that could be implemented and done. But I saw, it was sad. It was so sad. I saw a convalescent home where there were the elder generation just there, and you could only, the family could come. They put their hands and or arms in a plastic tubing so that they could touch the individual on the opposite side and see them through glass. And I thought, how sad is that? How difficult is that? People, we're living at a time that is unprecedented in our history, and we have to figure things out ahead of time. We just have to. All right, people, I'm going to take a quick break. That's right. It's the morning show. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Stay tuned for more right here at KMET 1490 AM. You can download the app. It is free. Listen from anywhere you can, wherever you get wireless technology. Thank you very much for spending time with us. We'll see you around the corner. All right, for the rest of you tuning in, I appreciate you. This is our after show program, and many of you, again, sharing stories there. We appreciate you. Let's see. Got comments from Renee. Let's see. Kelly's over there on Periscope. Says, orange juice with lots of pulp. Yeah, right. You got to get more of that in your body. Let's see. And all right. So going into comments, let us know how you're dealing with this pandemic, whether it be good, bad, and or indifferent. In reality, look, I sometimes do an after show program, but I sometimes wonder, do people listen? I don't know. So I'm going to end it pretty short and succinct here today. Here it is. If you feel you're in a situation where you perhaps just don't feel happy, perhaps you feel forlorn, perhaps you feel angry. The last couple of days I talked about focus on what makes you happy, number one. And maybe it's not a lot, but it's something simple, something that you could do each and every day and or participate in. Maybe it's an activity that you like to do. Maybe you got friends and family you can call. There's so many different ways to call your friends and family nowadays. So pick up that, device and go ahead and do so. But however you're going to do, we appreciate the majority of you who say, you know what, I'm just going to hopefully be thankful for something. Around the corner, there's a very common holiday, which is often referred to as Thanksgiving. Well, how do you give thanks? You give thanks each and every day, I always say. But sometimes, even if it is once a year, it's better than never, right? However, doing that is always around friends and family. And unfortunately, a lot of people right now are thinking, am I going to be able to be around my friends and family? Am I going to be able to see them? Am I going to be able to be right there with them? I don't know. Only you know. But don't throw caution to the wind. And make sure you don't, again, just meet with one another simply because you feel, hey, I want to get together. I don't care. I want to have some fun in the meantime. Is it worth somebody getting sick and or dying like that? Definitely not. All right, people, I'm out of time. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. Make sure to tune in weekdays, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on ABC News Radio, KMET 1490 AM. Whatever you're doing, do it well. Bye-bye, everybody.